years and years and years. All right, here we go again. I tried to start off this morning already, and it was not really working out. My laptop's being a bit of a dick. What else am I forgetting to do? I gotta get the sucker charged up. My phone's gonna last? Oh yeah, it'll last. All right. All right, quick mention. I'm using my smaller Canon camera this morning, my R7, and its own audio. Quick note. I found a box when I was checking our unpacked boxes, and there was 11 of these books in there. I think one of them I may have made a couple little smudges on here for my dirty fingers. I don't know. You still read it. If somebody wants that one, she probably won't put it in there, so there might only be 10. I don't know, nothing wrong with that. But The other ones haven't been touched. And there's 11 of them, including that one. If you want them, she said she'll make me sign them, and she'll put them in her How to Hunt store. All right? What else? She got me to share. My brain's on fire. All of her hats are $10 off in her How to Hunt store. All right? Shared. I did it. I remembered. And of course, these suckers, there's 3 or 4 versions, I think, in a couple different sizes, and they're all over the frickin' planet. A lot are going to Australia and the UK lately. I guess there's a lot going on around there, right? As well as everywhere else. Now, I got that covered. Right? I did it. Shared. Now, where are we today? Quick mention, not a rant. I just want to point something out that's important to a lot of people here. Maybe not to some, but probably to a lot. And it should be important to every single person to take note of this. That when it comes to numerous topics, it is kind of amazing how some people's minds will accept some facts. Not only because they've seen something, but because they have also listened to thousands of first-hand eyewitnesses here and other places. Right? I mean, if you do not listen to thousands of the same testimonies, no matter what the topic is, you're probably a living dead person. Dead between the ears. Right? So, as we know, for a long time, many people out there, those so-called big names, which I have mentioned for quite some time, they have pushed a narrative. They haven't pushed the truth. They haven't pushed the true facts. They pushed a narrative. Why? Who knows? I won't lose any time there. Now, you have to think about how many years these individuals have allegedly been researching the Sasquatch, Bigfoot topic. And now they're almost renowned experts. Stay with me. I think I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, put on a podcast, and I forget who it was, whatever. And I listened to 2 eyewitnesses who watched a thing in broad daylight on the side of the road turn from looking like an elk to squatted down, upright, huge, hair-covered being. I think it morphed into a couple different things, and then it ultimately changed into a ball of light and went poof into the timber. My gut told me these men were relaying exactly what they saw, honestly. I do not question them for a second. I go with my gut. Another thing, too, is how many people here have witnessed something that was transparent but large. A lot. How many people have witnessed this description of these upright people disappearing before their eyes, both at nighttime and daytime? A lot. How many people have shared that they saw one of these beings hiding behind a frickin' 6-inch tree, or disappearing behind it, when they were reportedly 4 to 5 feet across the shoulders? Many. And all these eyewitnesses are not connected or connected in any way. Right? They're not trying to push a narrative. They don't need you to believe them. They just came forth honestly and shared what they saw. How many people have reported in eyewitnesses seeing these beings accompanied by a bright light or numerous bright lights, also referred to as orbs? Many. Why didn't all the previous people who try to control a narrative share that? Who knows? I don't really give a shit. It just proves that they are absolutely a waste of time. So moving along. What I'm getting at is, for me, and I think I realized this a long time ago, way before I started doing this, I realized that we are dealing with much, much more than some kind of unacknowledged frickin' species that lives, nests, migrates and feeds on the face of the planet. Sorry, I'm pretty confident that that has been eliminated here due to all of us welcoming every eyewitness we can and listening to them. Don't you think? Throw down what you think on that in the comment section. I'll check it out. I think it's pretty safe to say we have way too many eyewitness testimonies sharing, and what is proof? Eyewitnesses are proof that these are much more than just a simple animal. Right? Now, what is amazing to me is how many people will accept the fact that there is some anywhere from 3 foot to even 14 foot and plus tall, 500 to 1,500 pound, hair-covered, human-like beings running around the planet. They've accepted that as fact. But something in their brain stops them, yet again, from accepting the fact that these beings can change their physical form. I wonder why that is. Is that odd? Is that kind of weird, especially for the people who haven't quite seen one of these people firsthand, but they accept it as valid, and at the same time, but they still have a block in there, where their mind blocks out the thousands of testimonies from all of you. The true, where the absolute truth comes from, as far as I'm concerned, without seeing yourself, but they still block it out. Really amazing, isn't it? So, what else can we possibly agree on? Excuse me, I've sent out a request, I don't know how many times, for people to find out if you're in communication with these forest people. Find out if there are human kill teams seeking them out and killing them. If that's true. I've had a couple people say absolutely for sure. Somebody else, I've had a podcast with some guy who came onto a podcast and allegedly was in a team that allegedly constantly hunts down dogmen and eliminates them. One person. Do I believe that to be true? This is just me. I don't know, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I got a really tough time accepting the statement that human beings are successfully tracking, following, and eliminating these people. I got a real tough time with it now. Another thing too, Rich Germeau. I got a huge respect for him. He has dove headfirst into this topic for a long time. He had a terrifying close-up encounter in broad daylight where he thought he wasn't going to live. And he has had numerous experiences since. And he said flat out, there's no way. He's told me, he says, there is no way they have a dead body. There's no way. And I felt, I wasn't taken back. I'm like, oh wow, that's a pretty bold statement, right? And I think I've joined him on that statement. For me, my ride. Why? We have hundreds of eyewitness first-hand accounts of people observing these people either disappearing, turning into lights, coming from light form to physical form, being transparent. Now you tell me, show me the human being that knows how to successfully track these beings down and kill them. I don't think so. I don't think so. Right? That's why I can't help it. I almost, you'll catch something, some video clip will be shared, somebody's like, look at these nests. They came here and they nested for a while. Oh, God. Sorry. Now that we know what we know because of all of you. Come on. Right? Come on. But anyway, I don't think we're going to pass go. You won't pass go in any topic unless you allow your mind to open up and accept the facts shared by hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of first-hand eyewitnesses, innocent, good, honest, brave people. You're not going to pass go unless you start to open up your brain and accept those testimonies. Am I wrong? What am I missing, right? Am I wrong? I don't think so. I don't think so. Right, I can remember when I was a punk and I first met up with Dr. John Bendernagel and I went for breakfast. I told him my big plan. I was going to make a decoy and I was going to go up in the middle of nowhere, like in Butte Inlet or something, and find a big alpine meadow, and I was going to, or a big ocean meadow, and I was going to put that decoy in the long grass in the shoreline. I was going to hide in the grass beside it, and that's going to work for sure. Well, it didn't take too long for me to graduate and move on from that epic, what would have been an epic fail. There we go. I just had to say that. Think about it, you guys. Do you think that there are human beings successfully killing these individuals today? Think about the testimonies before you shotgun answer, right? Think about it. I've had to think about it. Right now, I do not believe that is true. That's just me. I don't believe it, and I am a professional hunter. Here we go. Moving along. I couldn't get on the internet today, and I couldn't get on my email today because apparently somebody tried multiple times to sign into my email. Dirtbag. And so my email shut me out for half an hour or something, so I couldn't access it. So we're going to look into some other emails that I dug up. All right, here we go. This is titled. It's titled Red Now. This is titled, I Need Help from the HTH Family. Mindspeak in brackets. Steve, I wrote you about my Mindspeak experience. What I didn't share then was what is currently happening. The email I just read about the person in Alaska and having beams of light follow them brought this back to the forefront. Here we go. Coincidentally, I write this topic after my little spiel. The Mindspeak even happened about 2 years ago. Since then, I've been abducted by something. I've had an electrical charge sensation in my midsection while standing on my deck in my backyard. I have orbs visiting me, and yes, I have video of it over several weeks. Heard tree knocks. Been visited in my dreams. Heard my name called while out shooting in the woods adjacent to Fort Lewis or JBLM. The biggest thing for me is the extra sensory I have experienced since the event will address each event I mentioned before. Abduction. I was in my computer room laying on a Chase lounge listening to your channel, and I drifted off to sleep. I felt myself being pulled out of my body by my feet. I went through a tunnel, swirling colors, and ended up in a completely white room. No sound, no nothing. Imagine being in a room so white you can't see detail. I didn't remember how I got there. I was just there. All I could manage to do was tap my ring against the wall. One is white gold, the other titanium and silver. The gold made no noise. The titanium range or chimed when it made contact. Then I remember wanting to leave. I came back into my body and I could not move. Paralysis. This eventually subsided and I came out of it. The experience lasted for about a minute 15 seconds. The orbs are of different shapes and sizes. I am in one video I will send. Please do not share as I am in the video. The others you may share. I can't tell you how many times I have thought I was going insane while experiencing this. No one in my family believes me. After showing the videos to my wife, she is still in denial and mad that I would bring something like this to the house. She knows of my Sabi experiences and still doesn't think I'm being factual. She doesn't think the forest people are real. Extrasensory. What I am experiencing are thoughts, feelings from a forest person. I have images that are more feelings, like half picture, half emotion. I don't know how else to explain it. I can feel them when they are near. The images are of a place where I think they live complete with scenery. The others around appear as shadows. I tend to quiet that as much as possible as it is unnerving. So what I am in need of is if someone else is experiencing this type of activity, how are they managing it? In closing, I've never had any fear from the forest people. Orbs don't really bother me. They are more fascinating than anything. The abduction, well, that sucked. The first time it happened, I didn't know. I just woke up in my car, sitting in my driveway at 5:30 a.m. with it running and the e-brake on. I left the restaurant at 1:30 after dinner, and we went to a late show. Well, I've taken up more time than I intended. Thank you for everything you and Sarah do for all those in need. M from Washington. All right, that ended abruptly. I do not doubt for a second any kind of abduction would suck. I'll read your question one more time. So what I am in the need of is if someone else is experiencing this type of activity and how they are managing it. There you go. Sounds out there for a lot of us. But at this stage of the game, can't be ignored. I'm not going to ignore that shit. Not me. I'm no dumbass. So, throw down in the comment section below if you're in the same boat as this person. All right? Throw down. Telepathy as well. You know, they say, this is just me speaking, they say these people know your intent before you even get out of the vehicle. How does a human being tackle that individual if they want to hunt him down and kill him? Right? Telepathy. Hi, Steve, the How to Hunt family. You can use the name The Nublin for me, LOL. Okay, Nublin. Lots to share. Been a sub since 2019. To start, telepathy. The word mindspeak is great. People understand it. It's modern, but the concept has been around forever. We just used to call it telepathy. Yes, it's certainly real. And I could tell you a few funny stories about how I found out I have it. At least I found out that I'm a loud thinker, LOL. As far as reception goes, dude, you realize you just asked 300,000 people to talk to you at the same time? Yeah, I do it every day. If you want to develop it, I'm absolutely certain that you could. It's quite easily. As tuned in and aware as you are, you can progress quickly. The thing is, we all do have the capacity, and we all use it to some extent or another. Most are just not conscious of it. Sorry. One important suggestion, though, you might want to approach it in at least a somewhat structured way. So my next suggestion is meditation, which could be just go somewhere and sit on a rock quietly. Be still. And you might also want to target a specific person. Just sit quietly, think of them, and be still, and listen. Think of it this way. Picture a large room with a 100-year-old wooden floor, which is up on blocks, i.e. suspended above ground. There are a few chairs around the walls and a few people walking around. On one side, there's a teacup with water in it. There's a person sitting on the floor watching the teacup. While people are walking around, the surface of the water is vibrating wildly. But when all the people leave the room, the water is perfectly still. At that point, if I'm sitting on the other side of the room, all I have to do is tap my foot on the floor and a ripple will appear on the surface of the water. The person watching the water will be able to perceive a clear signal and know what direction it came from. And if you're listening for one person rather than thousands, that would probably help. Just want to share that for you and everybody. I'm a member of the club for some time. Can send those stories in another email. Meanwhile, I encourage everyone to consider the idea of telepathy as reality and proceed accordingly. Just will remind all of us that you probably don't want to pull in thousands of broadcasts at the same time. So keep that in mind. Much love to all. Peace and blessings. The Nublin. All right, there you go. That's a handy email, especially for me. And I just may start diving into that and trying to learn myself. I believe it is absolutely real. I've had some crazy experiences, especially the last few years, when it comes to intuition, sixth sense, gut feelings, or possibly messages sent to me, myself. Now, here's a long one. Use my name and whatever else cheers. Now, the title of this one might be a bit of a red flag, maybe, but we'll see, won't we? We're going to go in. LSD, Sasquatch Encounter. First encounter, 2018. Howdy, my name is Christian Breed. Christian, I hope you're not going to tell me I can't use your name at the end of this. I live in SeaTac, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest. My experience is not a physical encounter, but it is a spiritual/physical encounter. That is, I am here in my physical body, and what I saw seemed to be translucent oil-based spirit being. I feel like I can share my story with you because you stated several times that you want to hear it all. And well, I got something interesting here. I am 29 years old and I've been camping, hiking, and staying active my whole life. I'm a massage therapist at the moment. I work with car accident and work injury folks. It all started with a group of buddies and some acid. My desire to use LSD came from a consistent impulse to see and know the unknown, which is ultimately myself. I thought that if I used a psychedelic, it would allow me to think more clear and activate different levels of my consciousness and behavior. Because at the time I was feeling the dread from society to fit in, and all I wanted to do was go into savage mode. So I figured I would go into a psychedelic savage mode. The ultimate savage, someone who knows exactly what they mean and exactly what they're thinking, and that's what I was searching for. I was invited to use LSD with a few buddies I'd met at LA Fitness when I worked there as a fitness trainer. We ended up leaving on a Friday night after work to Cleveland, Washington. It's about an hour and a half drive from SeaTac. So, we get to the spot, and it has a long driveway with the Cleveland River off to the left. The house was surrounded by big evergreen pines and had some small pasture scattered around. It was the perfect spot for this experience. Not far from town, maybe 20 minutes off the beaten path. My prior knowledge about LSD is that it would disorient you and make you see things that weren't there. The wall would move. You could see adinkra patterns and see the rainbow tracers as you move your hand. I also had knowledge about Sasquatch, but it was only a possibility and highly unlikely, almost as unlikely as me taking LSD. It is interesting that my experience LSD and my encounter with Sasquatch were simultaneous. The effects of LSD take a while to come on. I placed 2 tabs of acid under my tongue at 10 a.m. and waited 30 minutes to see if I could feel any effects. We sat around the house and started to notice things shifting and perceptual changes in the air. I've always been aware of my surroundings. I can hear negative 3.5 decibels, and I have 13/20 vision in both my eyes. I found that out after this experience, but it might have some relevance. After about an hour, we decided to go on a walk outside around the perimeter near the river that was down a small hill toward the left. As we walked down the road, we find ourselves by a couple llamas in someone's pasture, and of course, I thought I could communicate with them. Anyhow, I've always believed in telepathy and all that, and that the truth is in cartoon comics. Anyhow, I've always believed in telepathy and all that, and that the truth is in cartoon comics, folklore, and mythology. As I was an hour and a half into the trip, I started to feel in control of my ability to direct my attention. It felt like a lot of responsible and control to have, focus and feeling. Once we passed the llamas, we began on our trail near the riverside, and as we walked down the trail, I got closer to the river, feeling the strength and power of it, flowing across rocks and hearing the roar of the waves. I closed my eyes and I literally felt the river inside my body flowing. I became the river and the river became me. Once I focused my attention on my breath, I snapped out of my river trance and saw rhombus-shaped electrical grid pattern at my feet that was shimmering oil and fine blurred lines that connected each rhombus pattern to the next. This went on in every direction I looked. Also, at the time I could still see the current reality with evergreen trees and bushes scattered about. However, the earth was changing its interface with me. I felt that I was inside a different realm of existence. We were going to continue down the path, but we decided to turn back and watch a movie. As I turned around and began walking back, I felt the urge to turn around and gaze upward. There was a 12 to 15 foot tall, translucent, bluish, oil-based being holding a trident that went to the height of its head. It was wearing royal regalia, amulets on the wrist with a toga that was the same color as him. All the colors of this being were similar, but I could tell there was things it was wearing. I made direct eye contact with this being for several seconds. I felt a voice in my head say, "You're different than your friends." Then I replied after a moment saying, "I know, thank you." I didn't get the chance to experience more than that because after that conversation, I turned around and started walking again. I believe the being was still watching me, but phased into a physicality I could not see. Ever since that day, I have felt protected and had a deeper connection to the earth, my body, and my surroundings. Wow. Second encounter, 2021 August. My second encounter was another LSD trip at Rosario Beach. This time we were in a similar cabin perch up on the north side of the beach, about 200 feet from the sea level. This was another perfect experience for LSD. Again, we got there on a Friday, took the dose of LSD in the morning, and the following day at about 10 a.m. This time I took 3 tabs all at once. Ooh. This was a high dose for me, the most I've ever done in my life. After an hour and a half of embedding the drug in my nervous system, we were ready to go on our trek for the day. I felt agile and alert. My perception and attention was high and ultra alert. There's a lot of people there. It's a public spot, so there was activity the whole time we were there, from regular humans, birds, and bees. As we began our trek around a small peninsula, I began to feel this alternate state of mind that I kept shifting into. As we were walking down the trail around the bend of the peninsula, I heard a loud pterodactyl screeching noise coming off my left and trees breaking. I heard you, Steve, say before that the noises could be heard as if they were present in close in proximity. But they weren't happening physically. That is my exact experience. I heard these noises, but I did not see any trees breaking or snapping off to my left, nor did I see a pterodactyl amongst the trees. I remember from the books, it has long wings and is massive, but since I was on LSD, I was almost convinced that it was. I had to talk myself back into reality because I had thought I transported back into dinosaur times. Upon listening to multiple encounters, I've noticed that the Sasquatch can make noises that resemble any animal, machinery, or otherworldly noise that has ever lived or existed. After I shook that powerful experience off, I gathered my attention to a focused point, my breath. I was able to continue down the trail as if nothing happened. As we kept walking along the trail about another mile or so, we followed a path leading down to a small beach in a little nook where we sat on our bums on some driftwood and smoked a joint. And this is where the other encounter occurred with 2 beings. As I was nearing the peak of my LSD trip, it was 12:34 p.m. and time stood still for quite a while. I was able to inhale for an exceedingly long period of time, and in my head I heard, "Your breath and ability to hold your attention to a specific point alters your experience of time." I gained immediate comprehension of this concept, and it felt like a tremendous amount of responsibility and power. There was a total of 4 of us on this small beach. My one friend was standing near the bank that led down to the spot where we entered. My 2 other friends were wandering around within the area. I was near the shore by the small waves about 10 feet away from my friend that was by the bank near the entrance. And as I was puffing the joint, I noticed a figure off to my right, just as I did in Cleveland. I noticed both these encounters were off to my right side gaze area. My friend simultaneously opened up his backpack and reached into it. Then I heard, "Watch and see if he will think his friend will pull out a gun and shoot him. Bracket, me." End quote. That was a quote, sorry. As I heard that voice, this allowed me to get a clearer image of who was speaking and where it was coming from. I saw a massive being that was 4 to 5 feet wide, with a purple oil-based translucent tint like the one a few years back. It looked oddly large. He was in a sitting posture on the bank toward the right, observing the situation. It initiated with the thought it put into either with me and my friend. However, I was the subject who was alert enough to be the test dummy. That's what it felt like. But it felt like an honorable test, lol. This one told me its name was Jerome. There's a smaller one sitting beside the large one to the right side. It was more of a blur, but still the same color. Possible his child or small buddy joining him on the experiment. I said in my head, why would my friend pull out a gun and shoot me? He ended up pulling out a banana and another joint to smoke. And the being was impressed that I did not get tricked. I felt a sensation of honor and respect for my ability to not assume a situation for the worst when it hadn't full been developed. I learned that it was a test. The being was seeing if I would break, if I could be tricked by mind speak to create a false reality simply with a telepathic suggestion, because that's what it felt like. I learned that evening that I, or anyone, or any human, I guess, could be persuaded to do something I/they don't want to do, and I'm grateful I've learned how to control my mind and my behavior in an uncertain and stressful situation. All in all, I feel that these experiences have been positive because of my ability to remain calm in a stressful situation. This is called equanimity. It reminds me of the Tibetan monks, which is another topic I'd like to talk about with you if you've got the time. Thank you for letting me share my experiences. I hope it can help someone. And I also felt a closer connection with my own soul and my surroundings ever since I started my Sasquatch research journey in the March 24. Thank you. Cheers, mate. Let me help you perceive pain. Let me help you perceive pain with a new lens. Motivated, ambitious, disciplined, educated. Okay, man. Just quit the email, and you know as well as I do, as soon as you mention doing some acid, people are going to tune out. But I'm listening to everybody. I recently had a professional Grey Cup winning football player on my boat last summer, and he went and did the ayahuasca thing in South America. Said it was unbelievable. Shared a bunch of crazy shit with me. There's something to be said about mind-altering drugs, right? Something to be said about it. Why is it illegal? Why is it illegal? Not all. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things out there that probably should be illegal, like the stuff that absolutely annihilates you physically, instantly, annihilates families, annihilates everything. But there's other things. I don't know why they're illegal. I don't get it. Something else. Am I into acid? Nope. I tried it once when I was 21 years old. Scared the shit out of me. Never do it again. And I do, but on that note, I do know people that I have a lot of respect for today that enjoy doing it the odd time. And it says they keep them sharp. They'll do it and go mountain biking. They'll do all sorts of crazy shit. And these are first responders. These are people who are in charge of a lot of people as well. These are very educated, successful, well-functioning people that I know who do partake in doing acid. And they've had nothing to, I'm not trying to push it. Trust me. I'll never do it. I'm not into it. Again, I was when I was a kid, and it scared the living shit out of me, and I don't know why I did it. I've never been a drug person. Not into drugs. Teach their own. So we're not pushing drugs with this video, right? Now, found a bunch of emails that also need attention from me, so I got to get past those. They're not to be read. Here's one, not marked as read. Let's get into it. Sabe and me? ? Hi, Mr. Steve. I apologize for taking so long to send this. You can use my first name. A lot of the shares brought up past memories. Been trying to figure things out. You can share this to the How to Hunt family. This incident happened when I was 3/4 years old. I remember crying very hard, feeling hurt/angry that a person didn't have the right to hurt someone just because they're little. I was being held, soothed by rocking and mumbling/humming. I don't remember the why of the crying. I've asked my 2 older sisters, recent, listening to some shares, awakened some memories that I'd forgotten. In the middle of the night, my mind went through pictures. I don't know how to explain that. I always had the thought that who was holding/rocking me was an angel. Then I thought that can't be. Angels don't have hairy chests. Oh, it must be my dad. Then the realization that Dad's hair was never reddish brown and hairy arms. I sat straight up in bed, shaking all over, trying to get my heart to quit jumping out of my chest. Had to take a break from writing and get coffee. Got sweaty palms and I was holding my breath. Jeez. Oh shit. 2 nights or more after this eye-opener, I was sleeping and was awakened by someone in my bedroom. And I said repeatedly, no, you shouldn't be here, go away. Stay hidden. Not yet? What? Yeah, makes some sense of that one. 2 summers ago, we had a lot of rain, and I was riding quad in the mountains. I stopped at a point where there's a great view down into the valley. Below the road was a small stream. I heard a lot of splashing, like someone playing in the water. I went over to the edge, thinking about going down, and in my head, don't come down here. I grumbled and I took one more step and a very firm, don't. I growled and said out loud, okay, fine. This winter hiking in snowstorm, I was going up a very familiar creek to get to and go around some falls, too slippery to climb. I went up the hill, 8 to 10 feet to go around it, almost to the trail, and became so overcome with dizziness I sat down. I kept shaking my head, thinking this isn't high. Slid back down to the creek, stood, no dizziness. Turned around and yelled, what the heck was that all about? Damn it. I turned, climbed up on the other side, no problem. Got to the top, took pictures of the storm, went back down. Went back up the same creek, and in the middle of the creek bed was the hugest log. Yes, I said log, of poop I've ever seen. It was still steamy, no joke. It shook me up and I left. Came back the next day, took pictures of it, beside a brake fluid bottle. I wish I'd taken the picture the day before. Sorry, this is long. And then it ended with a quick note to me. Okay, short to the point. I wonder, I don't know. What do we say to that one? Who had a hold of you? How'd they get a hold of you? Weird. Not the first one to report that, though, right? That was a bit of a confusing email, but we got it. Shared. This has been not your average morning this morning so far, has it? Now, next one is titled, Never in a Million Years Would I Have Thought I'd Experienced Something. Said every one of us. Been following your channel for a few years now. Enjoy the community you've built around shared experiences. I believe these beings exist, but I never thought I'd experience something I couldn't explain. Especially since I live in Western Pennsylvania. West PA is basically a given. Something's going to happen around there. Oh, God, there's dust in here. Dusty. I was archery hunting this past season near a fairly high-traffic state park, bookended by 2 state game lands near the Pennsylvania/Maryland border. Roughly 50,000 mountainous acres surrounded by farmland. I've heard jokes about Bigfoot for years at my buddy's deer camp, but something strange happened, and I don't know what to make of it. I was hunting solo about 1,000 yards from my truck. The sun was starting to set, and I was expecting to see deer begin filtering through the trees and into my bow range. Off to my right, at some distance, I heard a loud knock. This wasn't a woodpecker or the sound of a tree falling. I thought it was odd and began to chuckle, thinking I was letting my imagination get the better of me. I was amused and thought I'd have a good story to tell my buddies, but then as I was thinking I was being ridiculous, there was a second knock. This time it was much closer, off to my left. Even stranger, the woods fell silent. No more squirrels rustling through the leaves, no more birds cackling overhead, nothing. It was like someone turned off the volume to the forest. It was then that I heard a much louder knock directly behind me. My gut was screaming that something wasn't right. I was pretty freaked out. I had to muster my courage to climb down from my tree and began hiking back to my truck, directly past where the last knock came from. I packed up my gear in record time and started the trek back. The entire way it was still silent. The only sound I could hear was the sound of my steps through the dry leaves. Again, there were no birds, no squirrels, etc. I would have expected to kick out a few deer with how much noise I was making, double timing it back to the truck, but still nothing. I made it back to the truck, throw my gear in, and as I'm climbing into the driver's seat, there is no mistaking that I heard another loud knock. It was dark by now, and I guessed that knock came from a stand of pines about 30 yards from where I parked. I pulled out of there and instantly felt relief the farther I drove from that spot. I've been hunting that area for decades. The only thing that rattled me previously was when a black bear destroyed my bow as I was pulling it up to my tree stand. Oh, that would suck. I don't know what I experienced, but it definitely left me unnerved. Thank you for giving me somewhere to share my experience without the fear of ridicule. Sincerely, Tony. It's too easy, Tony. And I hope by now you know you're not the only one. Right? You're not the only one to have that happen, and you're talking to you're listening to me, and I've had that happen too. The knocks, that is. I've had it all happen, I think, now, except for I haven't been picked up yet, touched physically, that I know of. I basically had it all happen now. I haven't had telepathy happen to me. Seen the lights, seen the people, seen the tracks, heard the knocks, smelt the smell, and I've had things appear out of nowhere. So I'm just saying, you're not alone, man. Thanks for sharing that. All right, I'm going to go one more. Marked as read. I don't know where else to share this. You found the right place. Dear Steve, hello, my name is Kimberly. Yes, you can use say my name. This is not a Sasquatch encounter. This is not a Sasquatch encounter. There isn't a place to share my experience, but your channel is the only one I feel comfortable telling my experience. All right, we got you. It was summer '96. I accompanied my cousin from my home in Sebastopol, California, to Clear Lake, about an hour north. It was nighttime when we left, well after dark and still hot as hell. We had our windows down in her van, traversing the winding mountainous roads. It was late, and no one was on the road. And as we came into Clear Lake, all the lights on the highway had been green until we get to the light where you could turn to go to the hospital. We weren't turning there. There were still no other cars in front or behind, and the light turned red. We both kind of shook off the winding road. I started to look around. Probably meant turned off. And then my eyes settled on the crosswalk directly in front of us. There was something on the ground moving strangely. It rippled, then started billowing up, and as it left the ground, its head swung up, and I guess my brain wasn't accepting what I was seeing because it looked kind of cartoony at first. I glanced around thinking maybe someone was playing a joke, but saw no one. My eyes back to the thing. It swung its head up 2 more times, then it held onto the ledge above the windshield, but was standing because I didn't feel the van move from its weight. It was looking at me. It had glowing red eyes. The white, iris, and pupil were all shades of red. darkest in the pupil, getting lighter in the iris, till bright red where the white should be. They were lit from within. The skin around the eyes glowing like when you put your thumb over a flashlight. Both of us pushed back into our seats hard, gripping the armrests. You could have heard a pin drop. Both of us holding our breath. It was still looking at me. My mind started screaming 1,000 different questions all at once. I heard each distinctly on its own, and all of them come together. It felt like this thing somehow was reading my soul. It was invasive, like being raped without being touched. It licked its lips, its tongue traveling over very white, interlocked triangular teeth, then swallowed and rolled its eyes to look over at my cousin. I almost withered in relief, but didn't move. My first thought was, thank God it's looking at her. I know that's awful, but that was my first thought. I'm an artist, and started to look closely at this thing since we couldn't leave until it decided to fly away. It looked at first like it had no neck, but I realized it looked that way because the muscles started at the top of its head, went down to its shoulders. It had white skin that was mottled with dirt that made it look tan because it had sweat and probably had not bathed. Like it would know what a bath was. It had thin hair on top of its head. Skin hung down from the lengths of its arms, and it was connected along its sides past its hips. For the longest time, my mind has blocked out its nose. I was watching some nature documentary and some movement of some animal brought it back. Its face was flat. It did not have a nose. The two holes where the nostrils were had skin that it was able to open and close. The skin above its lips looked like there was either very sparse stubble or more likely blackheads. If it didn't bathe, but maybe it removed facial hair by rubbing its face on rocks, I don't know. I got a weird feeling that it thought I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to be, but I was overwhelmed by the feeling that if I didn't go with her, I wouldn't see her again, so she didn't have a choice. I went. It let go of the van, throwing its head back and rolling over as it flew off. It let go of the van, throwing it... Okay, I didn't think about the open window behind me, exhaling as I said, what the F was that? While turning to face my cousin. She told me to shut up repeatedly after every question I asked. I was trying to wrap my head around what we had just seen. She wanted nothing to do with even figuring it out. Nothing to do with any part of it. Can't blame her. Later that night, I suffered an injury to my jaw. Ever since, I have a noisy Sorry. Let me read that one more time. A couple typos, no biggie. Later that night, I suffered an injury to my jaw. Ever since, I have a noisy reminder of that night every time I open my mouth. When I got back home the first time I saw my parents, I told them they lied to me as a child. They said there were no such things as monsters, and they lied. For months, I was looking on the internet for imps, demons, what have you, to figure out what I saw. It wasn't until August 2010 that the History Channel had a show about monsters that I could finally put a name to what I had seen. What a misnomer that is. They called it Mothman. It looks nothing like a moth. It looks more like gargoyles you see on old European churches. I drew a picture of this thing and included it. It's not the same as the photograph, but maybe can help someone else that has had an experience. Thank you, Steve, for your channel. Thank you for your integrity. Thank you for letting me get this out of me. All the best to you and yours, Kimberly. No picture. And no picture. Kimberly, if you're still here, could you send the picture again? And I'll share it with the people. That sounds alarming as alarming could be. I wouldn't wish that experience on anybody. I don't want nothing to do with something like that. Right? And if something like that did come and cling onto my pickup when I was in it, I'd be putting holes in it right through the windshield. Boom, boom. I know I would. The Mothman thing, that's a whole nother frickin' category, isn't it? Remember there was a movie. Wasn't it a movie based on facts? Quite a while ago, there's a movie made about that, based on facts. I think I watched it. It was frickin' terrifying. Another email sounds out there, right? Today's had a couple. But let's see. I don't know. I mean, is anybody out there seen that same thing? I hope not. In a way, you kind of hope so, to help this lady. But in another way, you don't really want that to be something that we got to accept as fact, right? But we've got to listen, man. We got to listen to everybody now, especially today. We have to listen to everybody no matter what. And then take from it what you will or leave it. Don't blow a gasket, right? If it's got no interest to you, flip the page. It's too easy. You don't need to have a snap sandwich and lash out and start calling people names. Or express, yeah, whatever. I'm babbling. Anyway, there we go. Hopefully I can crack open my frickin' email. I guess, I don't know, do I change my password again or something? I don't know, I'll figure it out. There's no internet in here again. I don't know why. I've got the Starlink on the shop roof. It's the same one I take up north with me. And we have one on the house. The house one works. This one doesn't work in the morning. What's up with that? I don't know. There you go. So 11. I think she's going to put 11 in there in the store today. You go grab them if you want. She's going to make me sign them. And then maybe tomorrow we'll put the Blacktail Hunter ones in there, I guess. But I think everything's available on Amazon if you want to go that route. And get your truth in and share it to us at sharemystoryhowtohunt.com, all right? It doesn't matter how crazy you think it sounds. It doesn't matter. It's your truth. Get it shared, all right? You're going to help somebody. You're going to help somebody. There you go. What else? Tell you what, another thing. Just throw it down in the comment section because I'm interested to hear from you after you've all heard from all these people. Do you seriously think that there are human beings, I mean pure strain human beings, that are successfully hunting these beings down at will and killing them dead? What do you think? Honest, quick answer. Well, whatever, just answer. Do you think that's valid? I think it's bullshit. What do you think? I'm really, really, really leaning toward that's bullshit at this stage of the game, unless somebody pops out of the forest right there and tells me it's not and backs it up with a receipt or two. Maybe a bullet hole in their shoulder. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, maybe I'm not. I'll be back tomorrow.